Welcome. I have a treat for you today, and I'm very honored and excited to have these fabulous educators in the house with me today. These are teachers who are probably like you, suddenly being thrust into a remote teaching experience, and they're having some successes and some challenges. And I thought it would be great to bring them on and to talk about their experiences. So we have a kindergarten teacher, a first grade teacher, a second grade teacher, and I'm a tutor of many grade levels, but right now I'm working with a student at the first grade level. So we're talking about how to do this seemingly impossible thing of teaching remotely with all the restrictions that are placed on us, maybe from our administration or limited technology or from limited technology with our children. So I'm going to first introduce Jennifer Glick. She has been on our show before. Tell us a little bit about yourself, for those who don't know you, what you teach, and what's your current general circumstance with remote teaching right now.
Okay, I'm a first grade English language teacher here in Phoenix, Arizona. I have a class of all second language learners. It is a Title I school, so that's part of where our challenges come from, is not all of my students have the technology needed for this distance learning opportunities that we're putting forth for them. My district has not allowed us to use any of the live video chatting, so all of my instruction to my students is being done through me recording videos and sending them to them, hoping and praying that they're watching them and participating at the same time. We use Google Classroom, and we've tried to make sure all of our students have technology. Our district was providing Chromebooks to students who didn't, but then that also depended on the students having Wi-Fi at home, which not all of them do. So it's been challenging just trying to reach all of my students. And then again, it's the struggle that because they're English language learners, many of them are in homes where there's no English language. So that again makes it difficult for the parents and families to help their students, although they all do the very best they can, and I love them for their efforts.
Mm-hmm. And I bet some of you out there can resonate with some of those things. Do you have students with limited technology? Do you have restrictions from your admin about what types of resources you can use, maybe particularly the live web conferencing options? That could maybe feel like a major issue. So we're going to talk about how to deal with that. And okay, so how about you, Erin? Erin Bossler is a kindergarten teacher also in Arizona, just coincidentally. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about your experiences too, Erin.
Okay, so I teach kindergarten. I've got about 18 children in my class, a typical general education classroom. I work at a private school, so it's a bit of a different setup from being in a public school situation. We have the majority of our parents work full time, so we are being asked to provide instruction in ways that kindergartners can be independent so that they are working and learning at the same time their parents are working full time from home. So it's been a bit of a challenge in terms of trying to use our technology in ways that the kids are very interactive and still very hands-on, because we have, they're 5 and they should be writing and they should be using Play-Doh and they should be using all kinds of manipulatives. And so trying to then translate that into an online situation has been interesting. So we primarily use Google Slides to set up the day. In terms of what we're doing for the day. We use Seesaw as our platform for turning in homework and for turning in work and assigning things. And even if it's just snapping a photo or recording themselves, they're not always assignments in there. And then we use Zoom as much as we can to do a little bit. We've just now starting this week to do, we're in week 4 now, to do a little bit of more synchronous learning. So everything up to now has primarily been videos and asynchronous, and we're starting to now do some one-on-one meets with kids to do some reading instruction and things like that.
Awesome. So it sounds like you've been permitted to gradually ramp up.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah,
Not everyone has that privilege.
Well, and it was interesting too, because that was one of the things is we had to figure out is what is our parents' comfort level. So we're coming from a situation where there is a lot of technology in homes, but that doesn't mean that it works. And that doesn't mean that the parents know how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been an interesting challenge to overcome. And then you've got the parents who are very tech savvy or very need their kids to be super independent. And so trying to then meet all the individual needs for the parents and the unique situations of families where some, families might have one iPad for 4 kids to share, and another family has one-to-one devices. And it's been a balancing act to try to figure out what works best for the most part for the group. I just have to say one thing that I found is flexibility. And luckily our school gives us some leeway to be flexible. And
Everybody
so that's been the biggest godsend, is the ability to be flexible with how parents are conducting the learning and how the children are engaging with it, and even how many tasks they get done that day. So.
Mm-hmm. And now I want to hear from Stormy Daniels. She's teaching 2nd grade. Stormy, tell us about your situation, please.
Hi, I teach 2nd grade in El Paso, Texas. And so obviously, if you know where El Paso is, it's an amazing city. I'm from Phoenix, but it's an amazing city, but we're probably 98% ELLs just by the nature of our location. We're actually a dual language district. So we don't really have bilingual classes anymore. We have dual, where they get 50% of the instruction in English and 50% in Spanish. And it's not repeat, it's just, full immersion. And so I was very fortunate. I thought that, I got this because I'm also a Microsoft education trainer and I know all the tech tools and I got that all figured out. And in my class, we use technology, but then it's really overwhelming because there's so much out there. So I had to step back, we're 2 weeks in now, and I had to step back and focus on what is the objective? Just like in your classes you do, what is the objective? Why do you have them do an activity, a word sort, vocabulary lookup? What is the objective? And then just like we differentiate in our class, online we have so many different tools. Well, maybe somebody can't get online in the daytime for our virtual conference, but they can do it at nighttime. So I try to do just like we do in the classroom. I give them multiple ways to show, progress toward the standard rather than to do an assignment, to really differentiate and really give them a choice and to make it fun because they're at home and it's a totally different aspect. My kids use their iPads every single day in our classroom. We're very fortunate in our district to, be a district of innovation, and we have so much technology. And they're like computer geniuses. They can do it better than I can. But when a child iPad and their parent is there, they think that their parent needs to figure it out. And it's hard to say to the child, just pick it up, you know what you're doing. But anyway, so I use our district is using Schoology as a learning management system overall, and then I also use Seesaw because I'm early childhood and it's amazing. We're using Zoom conferencing, but we had some problems in our district. Zoom bombing is real. So even if you're still using Zoom, I highly recommend that you really have the, beat on things. And I'm going to tell you like it is. When the hackers take over, you can't control the room. And the problem is if there's little kids in there, that's a huge issue. So just be careful. And we use Class Dojo for communication. And so I change every single day. I change the plan, but I never change the objective. So
tell me, that's interesting. You every single day you change the plan, but not the objective.
Right. And so
give us an example of a plan switch.
Like this morning, we only have 30 minutes per grade level to direct teach or to conference. And so I always try to make it interactive, and we still do Go Noodle brain breaks because they're 7 still and they still need to get active. So we do a lot of fun stuff, but I had this amazing science where the energy comes from the sun. But when I'm planning alone in my little 4 walls now, I don't know, I guess I forget that they're 7. And so I immediately changed the way I was going to teach the word interdependence. I was going to use suffixes and prefixes, and I had this great thing. And then I thought, what am I doing? It's like we would in the classroom. I immediately made the seesaw word letter sort thing. And then tomorrow, whoever gets the big word that they built. And so you just really adapt and you go, but you just got to focus on, even if they did the assignment totally wrong, are they understanding the concept?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's something else I wanted to share.
Please.
That I realized is instead of like thinking, oh my gosh, we don't have time, now we have plenty of time for differentiation. And so I think this is a great time for us, especially in our district. Our readers are kind of not behind, but they're not really where they should be. So I think this is a great time, if we're really creative, to really fill those gaps for our learners in reading skills. So that's what I'm taking advantage of.
I love it. So you're seeing this as, despite the overwhelm, this is a silver lining. There's something possible and greater potential there. That's really cool. Yeah. But I do want everyone to hear that. Stormy Daniels said she is a technology trainer and she's overwhelmed. So if you're overwhelmed, you're in good company. Don't, this is normal, or it's maybe not normal, but it's universal right now. And so we have to figure out ways to rein it in. Don't look at everything. And then, as Stormy wisely said, I think go back to what is the real objective, what's the most important, either academic or social emotional goal, and address that, and not worry about, do we have a new technology for every little thing. It's really about getting down to, back to the most important things academically and maybe emotionally. So great. I will just share briefly. I'm not working in a classroom right now, but I do have tutoring students. And right now I'm just working with one online, and he has a lot of learning challenges. And what was interesting to me is the first time we went online, yes, of course we had trouble, even though his mom was there, we had trouble figuring out how can he do the Zoom annotate. But by the second week, we did have that figured out. So that's to be expected. But what was kind of unexpected for me was that his performance dropped quite a bit because maybe some executive functioning issues, ADD, being now on a computer, even though we did very similar things, except we did them now with a mouse and on a screen instead of on the page, he was much less successful. So that was kind of a shock to me. I hadn't anticipated that. And I don't think that that's going to be true for everyone, but those kids that have maybe a lot of distractions, learning challenges, learning the English language, all the variables that cause, another level of difficulty for learning, we have to keep that in mind because actually I was hearing Doug Limov talking today about working memory, and everything that taps our working memory or takes our attention away from the thing that we're trying to process means our perceptions are reduced, so we can't perform as well. So that's probably going on. I got to have the privilege of seeing that with one student, but that's probably going on with all of our students. They're fighting for the iPad with their sister because she's got chemistry at the same time. You're asking her to read. So, and at the beginning, I said that I was going to have you guys start with your challenges, but I think it would be better for us to start with your successes. Like you kind of already hinted at some of them, like you're using Seesaw and this. So if you can give us some of the things that are working, I think that would be really interesting for folks to, and then we can move into the challenges so that people can hear what is possible. We're getting people saying, they're trying all sorts of things. We've got people trying packets and videos, some doing web conferencing, some are having parents who are overwhelmed, and as you mentioned, Erin, with the technology. So Jennifer, do you mind starting us off with that?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I didn't mention it earlier, but I also use Class Dojo a lot to speak with my parents. So that's one way to do it. And Seesaw, I love Seesaw. I love that they're offering it free right now. I wasn't using it before, but the creativity of the things that you can create in there, I try to keep that where it's the fun learning to try and just motivate my kids to get in there. And a lot of them they enjoy being able to record their voices and take pictures. So that one has been a big plus. And yes, we use the Google Classroom. I'm getting a lot better at creating those Google Slide worksheets where the kids can actually type their answers in there, because I found that a lot of my parents, if I send a worksheet or something for them to do following a lesson, they have no way to print it out. And then it's the trouble of, okay, Mom, now you have to take a picture and send it back to me. So I've been getting really good at creating those Google documents where they can actually type in. So that I consider a success. And my video recording is getting much better. I've found ways to do some of our Reading Simplified activities there in a much better way, and trying to get the kids to really interact. It's funny when I record, I think they know that I can't see them, but they don't know for sure. And so like I'll stop in the middle of this, put your pencil down, you're supposed to be reading, and to make them think that, I can actually see them. Because I did have one of my parents tell me that when watching one of my lessons, when I was telling him, okay, let me hear you say the sounds, that her son was talking to the screen. So I ran with it, and I'm doing that with all my lessons. They are getting a lot easier to record. I'm getting more comfortable with it. At first, it was very awkward, very strange, because I've never had to do that before. And yeah, Google Classroom, I've finally gotten all my kids, joined our class, and they're learning how to access the activities and the things that we have done there. So yeah, I think we're starting to have more and more success as we go along. We're working on, I think this is our 3rd week now. So they're getting better at it, but it's still a challenge, but I can see progress being made. So that's a good thing.
Jennifer, can you give us like an example of something sort of concrete, either with Seesaw or with your Google Slides, where you're taking them through a couple steps and you see a product at the end? What would that look like for you?
Well, like in Seesaw, I've been doing a lot of the sorted activities. I create the actual sheet in Sorted, and then I have the words, and the kids get to actually move the words up and sort them.
So that's sorting by sound. So it's like one sound,
yes.
O, and the various spellings. For those of you who aren't reading Simplified.
That's true. Sorry, I forgot about that.
That's
For those
fine.
who don't know, yes. Yeah, so we'll take a bunch of O words, but some are spelled OA, some are spelled with the OE, or O with the bossy E, and O by itself. And they'll read the words, but when they're done sorting, what I really love about Seesaw is it doesn't have that record feature. So one of the things they have to do before they're finished is they have to record themselves reading the words. So they're actually getting to read it twice, once when they're sorting, and then again when they read through the lists to make sure they're in the right spaces. And I get to hear them actually reading it too. So that's been working really well. And yes, with the in the Google Sheets, I'll do a lesson like just for example, right now we're working on author's purpose. So I read a story and we create a little flow map. Well, how do you know what the author's purpose was? And that's their job in the thing, is to go in and they read a story passage that I have there. And then on the other sheet, they get to actually type in the sheet. Well, I know it's an entertaining story because it has characters, it has events, and those types of things. And it's very easy for the kids because they just type and they close. I don't even have to worry about them saving because it saves automatically. So those I have found to be very effective. And there's great videos on YouTube that shows you how to do that if you don't know how already. That's how I figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah, Jennifer never did Seesaw before, so this is all brand new learning for her, recording herself. Yes. All of that. That's awesome, Jennifer. Those are big successes, especially considering that you had some restrictions kind of dumped on you suddenly, like many places where there's not given the opportunity to maybe use Zoom or Google Hangout Meet. How about you, Erin? What are some of the successes and with the tools that you have tried so far?
So the biggest success I would agree is Seesaw. It's flexible. Yes. It's easy to use once you learn how to do it. And like Jennifer said, there are great tutorials online, either Seesaw or through YouTube, to help you figure those things out. And then the biggest thing for me has been Zoom, like the ability to connect with my kids one-on-one, because like I said, with parents that are working full time, they need their kids to be independent. And so luckily for us, we've not been Zoom bombed, and we're keeping very, very close eye on that. And we put pretty strict security protocols in place. So, you know, they don't enter without a password. They have to go into a waiting room, you know, things like that. We've put all those in place. So fingers crossed it continues to stay safe. But that has been, I think, the biggest thing for me to be able to do what the parents need us to help with. So yes, we are creating videos and we're putting those on Google Slides and we're putting them in Seesaw and putting those activities with them. And I love being able to differentiate in Seesaw. So I can really give, if I'm doing a word sort, I can really make it open-ended and give those kids that need the CVC words or those kids that need the long vowel words and things like that. And I can really give the kids things that they need to work on. But then being able to use Zoom, this week I've started up reading instruction again. So because that's been a big parent complaint is that they don't know how to teach their kids reading. I mean, they're not teachers, we are. And that's, we've started now meeting with them twice a week to be able to provide that. The other tool that we use, which is fantastic, is readingatozee.com.
Yes.
This is a resource that we use at our school to help increase our book room, you know, the size of the amount of the literature that we have to access to pull. And the nice thing is they have made all of their books projectable. So when I go on Zoom, I can share my screen. I can, you know, I have my book picked out already. We might do a little mini lesson to begin with based on the book. If it's a sight word, if it's a particular reading concept they're working on or a strategy, and then I can project the book and I can see, and there's still a little window so they can see me in Zoom, but it's mostly a full screen book. They can read, and there's tools in there like a highlighter and a little pencil and things. So if they're struggling with a word and it's maybe the chunk in the middle, the vowel, like EA combination or something, I can quick grab the highlighter, highlight it really quick, and they can see exactly what I'm talking about. And then, you know, we can work on that and then move on. And then the nice thing is too, is working with them individually it's really helping me see what I need to give them then in Seesaw or the next day in reading groups. So this week we're trying to meet with every student individually twice. We'll see. So 2 days. So far it's worked pretty well. But the other advantage is I did see a question pop up. Somebody asked how we're using instructional assistants or educational assistants. Mm-hmm. We do have an educational assistant in the kindergarten classroom, and that's our primary use of them right now. So we are dividing and conquering so that we can get our hands on the kids more often, and they are getting a little more of that online. We do have a daily story time. So it's either myself or my assistant will pop on and read a story. And a really cool thing to use with Zoom too, if any of you have Osmos, if you have iPads with the Osmos, there is a projector app and you can use it with Zoom. And so I'll put my book underneath that projector app so that the kids can really see the picture really well, as opposed to me trying to turn it around and get it centered perfectly in the camera. They really like that. And oftentimes too, they can now see the words, and so they can read along with me as they do that. So we have a dedicated Zoom story time every day. But really too, just the biggest thing for us is, I think that has been successful, is just being flexible. So we did provide a lot of materials for our parents at the beginning, and that included some Reading A to Z books that we had printed out just to get some reading, some age or level appropriate material in all their hands. We do have some, and we gave out some worksheets and things, even though we're not a big worksheet based school. We did give out some of that stuff so that for those parents who maybe just can't get on Seesaw that day, maybe they're having technology issues, maybe they just really need to focus on their jobs that day, they can pull out a worksheet, snap a picture, and upload it that day, and that's their work for the day. Parents have the choices of whether or not they're going to do the Seesaw activities, but as long as they're showing something that they're doing something, that has really helped the parents in terms of themselves feeling overwhelmed. And then for me also feeling overwhelmed in trying to help them all and to try to meet all their individual needs. So that's been the most successful thing for me.
I love it. Great. Seems like Seesaw and Zoom are really filling in a lot of gaps for us across the world. How about you, Stormy? What are some of your successes?
I love Zoom too. We're just not allowed to use it anymore. And it was our high school kids, when there's 100 in the room, is when it went wrong. So I loved it because I was doing guided reading in the breakout rooms. I was able to pop in and out and have like 4 things going on at once. It was amazing. So I'm happy for you guys that can still use it. So I think the success so far is that the parents, some of them are not English speakers themselves. So they definitely don't know how to teach reading in English. We're a monolingual English only class, but the parents don't all speak English. And so thanks to Class Dojo, automatically translates, we're having conversations back and forth. And also the parents are learning how to help their students. And they're seeing that I need to let them, make some mistakes. And I think the biggest success so far is that the parents are now, not that they weren't trying to help, but now they know how to help.
Wow.
They're seeing what their child is doing with me. And then they're, oh, that's what it, sorting letters and phonemic awareness is, and say the sound instead of the letter, and don't tell them how to spell it, sound it out, and they're getting those things. And I think they're more empowered to help their children learn to read, especially English language learners and stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I just put up in the last 2 or 3 minutes, I put up some links that you might want to send your parents if you haven't seen them before. I just put up a link for how to give your parents some videos for them to have their kids play around with sounds and do segmenting activities, oral segmenting or oral blending. And then earlier I had a video, just a 3-minute video about how to give oral feedback while your young person's reading aloud. So what other successes, Stormy? I might have just cut you off a little bit. Did you have anything else?
Also, in class, I was able to differentiate because we're an active learning district and we do a lot of, I guess you call it project-based learning or problem-based learning, new tech style. So I did a lot of that in the class, but online, especially when I was using Zoom breakout room, but I'm going to figure out another way. Like my high functioning students, it doesn't mean they do a lot of great work, right? Not even in the classroom. And so I'm really able to challenge them in a room where nobody else sees that really. And then they're challenging each other, whereas my other ones feel really supported. So I don't know. Again, to me, it's like, not that I want to not be in the classroom with them, but if I was in the classroom, maybe I would do like online homework now. Just tutoring, right? Because I'm able to give them, and even though we're over, the internet and, 20 miles away, they really feel like I'm helping them, even if we're manipulating something together on a screen. They really feel personalized now. That's always been my objective. So
that's always more fun, I think. You get to feel like you're really making an impact. You see the feedback and it makes a difference and you see progress. It's very gratifying. Sometimes with the whole class, you're like, well, what did we, how much of us, the class really got what I was intending? Before we move on to challenges, I think it would be interesting to talk about your work day or the students' work day and your schedules. Do you have a schedule? Is it set by you? Is it set by the school or the districts? And people ask questions like, how many hours are the kids online? You've mentioned individual reading sessions or read aloud. So if you guys can share your general plan and where it comes from, I think that'll be very interesting to people. Jennifer?
Okay. Yeah, since we don't have the actual live conferencing and it's just sending out the videos and hoping the parents are doing it, we don't really have a daily time where the kids are supposed to. We hope that they get on there every day. But our district has asked us, we need to send our students 3 math, 3 reading, and 3 science lessons every week. We also send home writing lessons. There was no set number on that, but I'm generally doing about 3 lessons a week in writing. We're also a Spalding school, so we send home 2 Spalding practice videos every week as well. So it's kind of up to the students what they do and what they don't do. I know I really encourage my kids that if you don't have time to do anything else every day, to at least read. I also have RAS kids, and the kids love that because for some of them, it's easier. They can listen to the story first, then they can go back and read it themselves. I love the little comprehension quizzes that come at the end. And as Erin said, it's free right now because of what's going on in the world. So if you don't have RAS kids, I highly recommend you going to get that and seeing if you can get your kids on there. And if I could really quick, when you were talking about Dojo, I want to share another success that I had. One of my parents, and again, like I say, these are all English language learners, and Dojo translated it to English for me because she is a monolingual Spanish speaker. And she had sent me a message this morning. She says, "Hello, teacher. I am also learning with the students tasks to pronounce words and to see how they are written. Something good will leave these online classes to me." And I thought that was amazing that, not only are the students learning, but my parents learning as well. And I had forgotten about that until you mentioned Dojo, and I just wanted to share that. I thought that was that just fills my heart with joy to know that not only are the kids learning, but maybe I'm helping some of these parents too. So just another success I wanted to throw out there.
I love it. It's like what Stormy's saying. There are these new opportunities, and maybe the collaboration of teachers and parents is going to bring some greater outcomes with the teaching at home. That's a lot of stress, I'm sure, but that's cool that could happen too. That's amazing, actually, isn't it?
Yes,
okay, how about you, Erin? Can you tell us a little bit about your schedule or expectations?
So the expectation is that as a teacher, I'm available from my normal working hours, which is 7:45 to 3:30. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I have to be on the computer, but I have to be accessible by some means. So that's nice to give me some flexibility to break up my day. But the kids, we do not have a set schedule for kids since all the parents have their own needs that they need to contend with. Some are really focusing on their kids' work in the morning, and they're focusing on their own work in the afternoon and stuff like that. So we've set it up on the Google slide there for our kindergartners. We have a reading activity, a language arts activity, a math activity. We have some optional math challenges from our math specialist at our school. We have a choice time board, which is, really just kind of play-based activities for the kids to do as well. And those are all optional. And then the kids know, so like I said, this week we did start some one-on-one reading time. Luckily, with the use of our instructional assistants, we can break the kids in half and get to them twice a week. They are on for 15 minutes or less in terms of the reading instruction for 2 days a week. The story time lasts about half an hour, and that's, again, an optional time for the whole class to get on, and that way they can see each other and socialize a little bit too. We leave it open a little while after for them to talk, because when 5-year-olds get on, they basically just talk over each other, and they're so excited to see each other. Thank goodness for the mute all button. That's all I have to say. That gets their attention and gets them quieted down, and then I can take that off, so that way I can get some normal reactions that, like when I'm reading a story, you can play off those reactions that they normally have when you're reading. And then in the afternoon, I do open up an hour window where kids can get on. So if they are having questions, like if they don't understand an assignment or they have a question about something, like we did an ED activity last week, and one of my kids kept trying to write shooted, and his mom kept trying to explain irregular verbs, even though we're kindergarten, we're 5, we haven't talked a lot about verbs, but she finally gets on going, "Can you please just explain this to him?" So, honestly, in the classroom, I probably would have just let shooted go. But anyway, so we got on for about 10 minutes during that time, and I was able to do a little mini lesson with him specific to that. So he at least understood a little bit better why he couldn't write shooted. And had to write shot, like as in shot a basketball. So for me, I'm online for about 2.5 hours a day. And when all said and done with that, the kids themselves are online. If they have a reading lesson that day, it's 15 minutes or less, maybe half an hour for the story time. And then if they sign up to talk to me during office hours, it might be another 10 minutes. So it's less than an hour. And our goal is for all the activities to take about an hour to 90 minutes at the most, because they're 5 and they, homeschool is not regular school. And so it needs to be planned with that accordingly. So that's kind of what we're shooting for.
I love it. Those are great guidelines too. Probably a lot of places are shooting for something like that. But sometimes I'm hearing like 3 or 4 hours, people that haven't gotten their head wrapped around that it's not the same as a school day. No. So hopefully that message will get out.
Well, I think one of the biggest things was the parents needed to realize that it cannot take 3 to 4 hours a day.
Right.
You know, and learning the technology and stuff like that, it was taking longer at the beginning, but now that we're getting into week 4, they're finally, you know, the parents are understanding that we're not expecting every assignment to be turned in every day at a certain time by this. It's really up to them when they want to do it and when they want to turn it in. And like I said, if they don't want to, then they have the flexibility to go do something else. Or if there's other learning taking place in the home, like they're baking together and cooking, they can take a photo or a video of that and upload that. And that's their learning for the day. Too, and that's perfectly acceptable. But yeah, so that's been the biggest help, is just knowing that there's times where they can reach me, but other than that, they get to set their own schedules.
I love it. How about you, Stormy?
Okay, so our district gives some elementary expectations, and it's kind of written out. You can't see the paper, but it's, you know, explicitly written out just so the parents know what's expected across the district. And it does say exactly 2 to 3 hours per day of academic time for students. And that doesn't mean online. That means the teacher should not be planning more than that, what takes that time. Because at home learning is different than in the classroom, like, you know, was just shared. And then 20 to 30 minutes direct instruction 2 to 3 times a week. I'm doing 5, but I'm calling it voluntary, but they're always there.
Awesome.
And then in that 20 to 30 minutes, it shouldn't be more than 1 or 2 integrated subjects. So I shouldn't, you know, they couldn't be overloaded. And they engaging activities, of course. So in fact, the first activity my students do Monday morning is in Seesaw. They have a calendar, and I think I shared it in one of the teacher Facebook groups. I created just a PowerPoint a calendar, and then I saved it as an image and put it on Seesaw. So they sort the must-dos, because they must do iStation 3 times a week reading and iStation 3 times a week math. Those are from the district non-negotiables, because that's not that we're grading, but that's, you know, the piece, since we're going to continue school and they're going to get credit, that's how they're going to track progress, apparently. And so that's one of their must-dos. They have a list of must-dos that they drag to their calendar. So I have a student that stays with grandmother all day until 3 o'clock. So he doesn't do anything that requires technology before 3 o'clock, right? And that's a good skill for college, because my son's in college and can't plan anything. And so the first thing they do is make their planner, and then the parents also know what they should be doing. So they're not waiting for me to say, okay, it's iStation time, or okay, it's math time. They know what they need to do by Friday. That's when they planned it, including their lunch, their active time, when they're going to wake up, when they're going to get dressed, just so they see that, you know, life is happening and they're in charge now. And maybe not, but they think they are. And then on Friday, the last thing we do together is a reflection, and I don't check. They don't think I check to see what they did, but we say, how did your week go? And then what are we going to do differently next week? What should we change? Last week was the first week, we did a lot. And I really didn't change what they were doing, but they think I did. So instead of calling it a science activity, now we do mystery science. And so I try to personalize it for them and let them think that they're creating their learning. But
well, I love it. Choice almost always wins out, doesn't it, with everybody, including kids? So, okay, what about some challenges? We've talked about some successes, our schedules. We've hinted at some challenges for sure, but what are some of the things that are you're still dealing with and you're still trying to find solutions for? Jennifer, can you go first, please?
Yes, and our school, the district, we aren't really calling it distance learning. It's not, because of the possible inequities amongst, you know, parents and students being able to access the learning. They're called learning opportunities. So there is no set requirement for the students to be doing anything. They could do nothing all day long, and there's no set requirement. So one of my challenges is to actually get that participation from my students. I have maybe 4 or 5 out of my 22 students who are regularly in there doing their work, watching the lessons and doing the activities. And I have another, 16, 17 that the only time I talk to them is that we do call our homes once a week just to check in and make sure that the family's good and the kids are good, which I love that, just being able to hear their voices. But, and trying to encourage them to get on the computer, do what you need to do. But because it's not required, it is very difficult to get the parents to get the kids to do it. So that's my biggest challenge right now, is that I'll spend a lot of time creating these great video lessons and I get them put out there and then nobody watches it. Or, I'll put out, like say, I'll do 3 lessons a week in reading, and I'll notice that the students will go in, they'll skip day 1 and day 2 and just jump right into day 3. And I tell them, if you miss day 1 and day 2, you're missing learning. Day 3. But I don't think there's a lot of, the parent requiring them to do it because the district's not requiring it. That for me is the biggest challenge, is just getting that participation from the students and getting the parents to get them on there. And, I understand that they're busy, and I've told them if they at least get them to read every day. But I even have students who haven't even logged into Raz Kids since we've been out of school. And it breaks my heart because of all the work we've done all year. I'm worried how much of that is going to stick between now and when school starts again next year if they don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
That for me is the hardest part. I've gotten the technology down pretty well. I'm doing really well with all of that. It's the other end of it. It's getting that participation, getting the kids to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard.
Yes. Aaron and Stormy, are you dealing with that? You're in different situations, but
yeah, we have parents that are getting on every day. The majority of my parents are, or the kids are. But the thing is like she was saying, there are those kids that, you're worried about things sticking over the summer. Well, the 2 kids that I have that have not logged in at all, those are my kids that I'm worried about, and I've also got a parent who said, this distance learning thing just isn't working for me. And, this is what we're doing at home. Okay, great. But for me, I think that biggest challenge is trying to meet everybody's individual needs, trying to provide learning opportunities that work for everybody. And that's when, because I've had parents that say, you need to provide me a schedule. And I was like, well, I can't because everybody's got different times. I think that's something that you're going to have to come up with yourself. Or we've got some parents who are like, just put everything in Seesaw, everything, not, don't put anything on Google Slides. Well, then there's other parents who are like, but I like the Google Slides. That's what keeps me on track. And so it is challenging. And then trying to troubleshoot technology with parents. Mm-hmm. That's really difficult because I can't see what they're using or what they're doing. And so that to me has probably been the most overwhelming thing. But I mean, even at a school where, the parents we are coming from a higher income bracket and stuff like that, I'm, making sure they're getting on every day isn't.
It's not
it's not a guarantee.
Not a guarantee.
No.
Wow.
Not a guarantee. And I still have those parents that are like, yeah, we have all the technology. We prefer paper stuff. So yeah.
That's true. And there's a good rationale for not putting our young kids on a screen all day, right?
Yeah.
Right. There's some logic behind that.
We're trying very hard to make sure they're not on a screen, that the technology is a tool for us to be able to communicate and for us to be able to see what they're thinking and they're learning and stuff like that. But at the same time, it is what it is. This distance learning thing is not easy, and everybody's got to work it out for themselves. So yeah, definitely. I agree, Jenny. I totally felt like an IT help desk.
Oh yes.
I've been on the phone with parents going, can you FaceTime me, or can we get on Zoom so I can see what's going on your computer, because it's really, really difficult for me to be able to help them when I can't see it. So
yeah.
How about you, Stormy? Thank you, Aaron.
I completely agree. Because I have an iPhone, which is a different operating system and I don't have a MacBook though. I have a computer, right? A PC. And so I have to first say, what kind of device do you have? How to use Schoology with Windows Phone. I don't even know what they are. And then I just remember, just like when I teach adult educators how to use technology, I understand it's frustrating. And I'm not afraid to push buttons and figure it out, but some people want to go step by step, so I'm just patient, right? So I even forgot the question, but I totally agree.
Just what are your challenges? You got the tech challenges for sure. And here's actually a question just for you, iStation.
Yeah, absolutely, Karen. That's excellent. That even brought it back. So I'm only calling them GT because I think all kids are GT, but my GT learners have tricked the system on iStation. But I'm showing the parents how to go and look not only what minutes they did, but the parents can look into that detailed report on iStation. And that one specific parent wanted to know, oh, how did they finish iStation? They weren't even in the room. And so I showed them how to check in. You know, that parent took care of that for me, right? So I'm going to check, a couple of my parents attended an iStation webinar on how parents can access reports and what iStation teaches and how it, you know, they probably know more about iStation than I do, which is great. Because, you know, all of those resources that they could print if they wanted to for their parents, those sorting activities, those fluency, those whatever they wanted. So.
And Charm says some parents want even more than we are putting out, and some haven't touched the technology at all. So it's a real trick. We're trapped. We want to challenge our parents and encourage them and the students, but at the same time, you have to understand, of course, some families may not have reliable internet, or they may have 2 devices and 6 people that need to be either at work or at school. In my family right now, we have 5 members in the family, and all 5 of us have school or work, and you know, 2 of them have school and work, and so you know, we're like sharing Zoom time. That's an unheard thing of, right? 3 people on Zoom at the same time, and of course, that's, you know, that's a pretty privileged environment. What if there's only 1 device? And so yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I wrote down in cursive what I was going to say. So in Texas now, if there's any Texas teachers in here, howdy. Cursive writing is now pushed down to 2nd grade for the first time this year. So of course, just like all of our amazing standards, you do what's important first, and reading always comes first, right? Because reading, teachers love reading. And so in class, we never really had time to do it, but now my students are learning cursive, and I don't have to teach them. If you know, Johnny Can Spell Type Products, Alice 9, she's recording 18 cursive writing lessons. Like the first one's about 20 minutes, and then it's maybe 12 minutes, but she's taking them through, you know, cursive writing lessons, and she's very thorough. And the kids, once a day, they have to do a cursive writing lesson. And, you know, and I've learned cursive 40 years ago in Phoenix, Arizona, so I don't know how to teach cursive. But they're doing great. But that's one thing that they have not done before. And the parents think that they have to do it right first. And so a lot of parents are just now learning that learning isn't get it right the first time. I'm not grading it. And learning isn't for a grade, you know, that's final, you know. And so initially I got a lot of responses in parents' beautiful cursive writing. And they're learning that they're not going to learn cursive unless they write, you know, and my kids are writing, I used to probably do it for them. So yes, Marlene, the website is alice9.net, I think. N-E-T?
The number 9?
Yes.
Alice, like Alice in Wonderland?
Alice, N-I-N-E, like spell out 9, and then .net, I think. If you just type up Alice 9, you probably get her website, and she has a whole phonemic thing, but you scroll down and you'll see her phonics or cursive writing lessons.
Did I get it right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So what's your next horizon for your own development, either for your mental well-being or for maybe, the thing that you're not quite getting yet that you think is super important? As Stormy started us off with, like, there's a few things that are really, really important. That's what we're going to focus on. If something's not getting accomplished, what's that thing you're going to try to gain or move towards? Or again, maybe you need to kind of take a chill pill and take care of yourself. What's your next step? Little reflection question there.
Yeah. For me, now that, I'm starting to get into a flow, I've spent the last 2 weeks just constantly on this computer from the time I wake up until I go to bed. My eyes are hurt. I'm getting headaches that, I have to force myself to stop. I'm up. People who know me know I'm a night owl. I never go to bed before midnight anyway, but the last couple of weeks I've been up till 2, 3 in the morning, just trying to make sure that I get everything, the way. I'm a perfectionist. I can't help it. And making sure, I'll record and then I'll re-record and re-record. I'm getting a lot better. So I think for me, my goal is that to get the system down so that I am not spending so much time on the computer, that I actually do have time for myself to back off and to take care of myself. So that's kind of a goal for me, is to get my videos recorded like on Monday or Tuesday. So that way the rest of the week I can spend time calling my parents, responding to them, and also just taking some time to spend with my husband, who has no idea who I am anymore because he never and my cat, who is missing my lap. I think that's why he was in here bothering me. But yeah, for me, that's my goal. And I'm just want to really try to keep encouraging my students to get in there, do it. I try to focus on how fun it is, and it's time you get to see me. I mean, you don't get to see me anymore, but if you come and watch the videos, you get to see me. So yeah, those are my goals. Trying to get more participation from my students, and then more time for myself, I think, is where I need to go.
I believe that from watching what you've produced. How about you, Erin?
My goal has been the same. For the past, I would say 3 weeks, it's been the same thing. I've been on the computer starting about 7:45 in the morning, even up until 11 o'clock at night. I'm online. And while I'll shut down my story time and I'll go take the dog for a walk and come back. It's not enough. Like I still need to find that school or that work-life balance. So this week, it feels like everything is falling into place. And I don't know if maybe because I've got myself on a schedule more now. Yesterday and today, I was able to get finished by 3 o'clock and go, wow, I can walk away from the computer. Like that. How did that happen? I think I'm finally getting the hang of this, myself and my teaching partner. And I think, and then also our teaching assistants, I think we're all finally now kind of in that mode where, okay, things are finally starting to settle into a groove. We're figuring out what our parents need. And we're, figured out our expectations and what's reasonable to expect. So I think now this week is the first week I've finally, like at night, been able to shut down. And I've had to remember that just because my computer work email goes off, the little ding goes off, that I don't have to run and check it just because my computer's here. Yeah. So I'm finally now feeling comfortable with that decision. And like I said, feeling like I'm getting into a groove and getting into the mode so that, maybe in a couple of weeks, if everybody else is feeling the same way, then we can maybe add another component to our learning. Because we, like Stormy, like you are, we are very project-based as well. And I really miss that aspect of our learning. And I would love to do some investigations with my kids and stuff like that on, things that they're interested in. So we'll see. That's a dream. We may not get there, but we'll see.
I love it. I'm really glad to hear that y'all are starting to think about how to take care of yourself. How about you, Stormy?
Great lead into what I was going to say, Erin. And so, like I mentioned earlier, we do a lot of projects with the global goals, like, to save the planet. That's why we come to school, and really get them back into there. But they really need collaborative space. They're used to talking to each other, And my goal is really to find a way to connect them. And Zoom was working, but now we're moving to Microsoft Teams. And in Microsoft Teams, they can collaborate with all the Microsoft products, Office, PowerPoint, Word, except, if they want to use Excel. And so I'm thinking that, but also we use Minecraft Education Edition. So I'm trying to become a gamer and figure out how to forward my voice or something so they can all play together.
Wow.
So that would
That's
be
cool.
remarkable if they're locked in their house. Not locked in. Okay, we're in our house. Because they play in class, and it's just amazing how collaborative they are and so much creation and teamwork. And I really think that could really bring us back together as a class, because that's my biggest thing is missing them, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This has been great. So everybody, thanks for being here tonight. Goodbye. Would you like future complimentary trainings like this here at Reading Simplified? Then make sure you ring the bell here at YouTube to become a subscriber so that you learn more of our ways of streamlining instruction and accelerating students' reading achievement. And you can also find us on Facebook at Reading Simplified, usually on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go live with other complimentary trainings, and we give away some freebies for teachers and parents. So I hope to see you here again next time on YouTube or even on Facebook. Take care.